Despite the top step in the championship already being decided, there's still plenty to play for in the Lotus 79 series, especially at a track like Spa, where twists and turns, drafts, and aero wash will play a massive part of the story today. Who will be able to be the one to tame this fearsome circuit? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch the final round of the Lotus 79 Grand Prix series, and you'll see it all here live on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm DJ Clark, and with me in the booth is Ozzy Pahaka and Michael DeTurk. Behind the scenes is our director Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Spa is a track that, well, really needs no introduction, but let's head over to our track map for a brief refresher.
Welcome to Spa-Francorchamps. Less than an hour's drive east from the German border, this Belgian track has come to define racing for many different eras in the sport. It's no wonder it continues to entrance drivers when you look at the stats. The 7 kilometers over the course of a lap includes more than 330 feet in elevation change as it weaves its way through the Ardennes forest. Packed into this is 19 turns, some of which are considered among the most famous in the world of racing. Corners like La Source and Blanchemont have been on the lips of drivers for decades. But by far the most notorious is Eau Rouge and Rétillon. Typically referred to in name by just the first section, it dips low and swings left, then compresses and climbs to the right up a massive hill. The sequence ends with a completely blind crest that sweeps to the left and leads onto the incredibly long Kemmel Straight. The bravery required to be fast through there will pay off towards one of the most popular passing spots at Lacombe. Eau Rouge is exemplary of the rest of the circuit though. Most of the turns are incredibly fast and many include much of that signature elevation change. As jaw-dropping as the track is, you have to remember that this is the modern truncated layout. The old one, raced until 1979, was 14 kilometers in length, yet carried an average speed of 150 miles per hour. Present-day safety measures do cut down on the danger, but even in recent history, the circuit has proven deadly. It's clear why this track continues to be revered and respected by racers the world round.
Well, Ozzy, that's a look at the circuit as a whole, but what can you tell us about how these Lotus 79s in particular are going to take to this historic circuit?
I think it's gonna be just fine, DJ. In general, this is all of the things that a Lotus 79 likes. You got a lot of fast corners, you got a lot of sweepers, and left, right, left, right, left, rights. You got a lot of places where you can make overtakes happen, where you can draft. You also need to tune the car for the circuit's demands. So you need to have that high top speed. You need to take the wing out. Because as tricky as this track map looks, you look at Spa-Francorchamps, everybody's probably seen this track. 7 kilometers, 4.3 miles, thereabouts. Those corners are surprisingly fast and you need less wing than you'd think. So you have to adjust those demands, and also the Eau Rouge, Rétillon, you have to kinda increase the ride height so that you don't break the floorboard of the car. So it has its compromises, but overall it's a fine racetrack for this car, even if I never personally liked it so much.
Well, we will have to see how everything plays out, and we'll run you through the race details for today of exactly what to expect. As we said, it is the 12th of 12 rounds here, only 21 laps around this circuit, as it is a relatively long track to go. Open setup, as Ozzy talked about there, so drivers will have to tweak and tune that car. No spare car available, so if you get off into the gravel, catch one of the walls around here, your day is effectively done. Now, this is important because Spa is a little bit infamous for some of the off tracks. You get a drive-through penalty at 17 and disqualified at 25. And as we said, Ozzy, that could definitely play a little bit of an impact on how these drivers handle the curves around here, as you've got to be a little bit careful to not pick up those off tracks.
Oh, absolutely. But you don't really use the track limits too much with this car, because the curbs are kind of high. Sometimes you don't want to run too much over it, but if you increase the ride height, sure, you can run over the curves, and it can theoretically be an issue, but I think less with this car, because the faster line is usually a little bit tighter than with something like a GD car. So I don't think those track limits will be too much of an issue. We'll have only 21 laps, and quite frankly, if you run even close to incident limits, then it's your own fault.
I couldn't agree with you more as drivers are headed out right now for an 8-minute qualifying session, 2 solo laps, so they're not going to get the benefit of the draft as they go around if they keep on going here. But it's going to be interesting to see. We've got some new names coming back into the fold, namely Tomas Shimon, able to get himself back up and into the series. We haven't seen Tomas for a good long while, and he is certainly going to be one to watch out for, the highest rated driver as of right now, Ozzy.
He is, and he's a past champion as well. He's been sort of making a mini comeback to this series as of late. The Hungarian driver from Fehérvár or Fehérvár. I still can't remember quite how the city name is pronounced, but nonetheless, a fine city in Hungary indeed. He is one of the favorites in whatever race he enters. His I rating is high, and there's a good reason for that. He is a good driver, but he can also be prone to maybe over-aggression sometimes, as can some others. So he's not the kind of guy to back out from a fight, and that can both work in your favor and work against you, especially in a track like Spa-Francorchamps, where it's so easy to stay right behind somebody, where somebody can stay behind you just by using the draft. So you end up driving against drivers or racing against drivers rather, who are not necessarily as fast as you over a single qualifying lap, and that can irritate a fast driver. There is nothing more irritating than somebody beneath you hanging with you and trying to race you.
There certainly is not, but let's go ahead and run you through the points standings. As we mentioned, the points already decided here for the top step, with Paulie Partonen holding a 99-point lead over Jukka Tolan, and there Timothy Reed back a fair ways. Paul Williams and Gernot Frischa rounding out your top 5. Still a little bit of a battle potentially to play there between Williams and Frischa. Timothy Vaughn, our very own Michael de Turk there in 7th. Pep Meyer, Ove Trangarit, and Karthik Pai. A good battle starting to shape itself up for 7th, as well as P9. Ozzy, what about the teams championship, as there's still a lot to play for there as well?
So in the team championship, we got McLaren leading by 7 points, by measly tiny 7 points ahead of Wolf Racing. And then you got Team Lotus, the Martini Racing Team Lotus, rounding out the podium, 13 points ahead of the lead. So we got still the championship on stake. Ligier, the French are doing pretty well in 4th place. Then you got Candy Team Tyrrell, Renault, Alfa Romeo, Shadow Racing Team, Arrows Racing Team, and Brabham rounding out your top 10. Brabham with probably the only sponsorship that isn't alcohol or cigarettes. So there you go.
Yeah, a throwback to the old days of Formula One. Indeed, also want to give a special shout out to Jukka Tolanen and Paulie Partonen, who we just heard are watching today's race. So our 2 top drivers here sitting today out. Want to give a huge shout out to them as they go. We watch Tomas Shimon right here. He is currently on provisional pole right now by the tune of about 0.5 of a second over Mika Lino. It is a big gap there. At a long track like Spa, we expect some larger gaps, but I've got to say 0.5, that's pretty significant there.
It is, even if you're talking about the Spa-Francorchamps track, which is a long one, 0.5 is a lot. So you can see Shimon really being a league ahead of everybody else. Mikko Leino doing a good job of hanging behind him. Then you got Milward as well. Alex Milward, good to see him back. As Timo Karjalainen now. Why did I pronounce that like that? It's Karjalainen, not Karjalainen. So emphasis on the first syllable, finish things, blah blah blah. 4/10 now behind Tomas Shimon and looking to start his 2nd flying lap. Also giving a shout out to car number 27. I'm not sure if we even have him on track or not. Mikael Järveläinen, there we go. It's his first week with this car. It's not his 2nd race. He did one earlier this week, but he was pressured by fellow Finns to get into the Lotus 79, the Classic Teams Grand Prix, Classic Teams Championship, Sunday Grand Prix, whatever you want to call it. And he's right into the hot seat. The good thing is that if he starts doing well, we can start calling him Te Michael, or Te Mikael in this case.
We might have to indeed. And we want to bring in our third member of the booth here, Michael DeTurk. Michael, you obviously have plenty of experience in these cars racing around Spa, where we talked about some of those track limits. It's got to be pretty high pressure to be running a qualifying lap around this fearsome circuit. Talk about what it's like to be able to put that time down.
Qualifying's kind of a different animal. You know, you don't want to abuse the tires, but some tracks, you need to put the practice in early in the week, because some tracks with Lotus, the first lap is your money lap, and if you don't hit it, you're going to lose 6-7 tenths on the second lap. Some tracks, you get that second lap. To be honest, I haven't put any laps in this week, so I can't tell you which lap is the first faster lap, but you know, you really got to keep the pressure on, and thankfully the little bit of relaxation they did with track limits makes it a little easier to get a qualifying lap in here now.
Well, it certainly does, and we're seeing plenty of drivers putting it down those times. Paul Williams crosses over on the board there, and that's going to be able to put him up onto the chart. So good run there for Paul. Here comes Timo coming across the line. Is he going to have anything for Tomas Shimon? He is going to be able to improve there to the tune of about a 2:02.462, but still about 0.4 of a second off. There we see, I'm not sure exactly who that is, running a little bit wide and slow there. That's Gwendolyn Old. She is going to call it a day and pull off to the side there, but it is Tomas Shimon leading the way right now as qualifying ticks over, and let's run you through that starting grid here. As we said, Tomas Shimon back in the series and back on the top of the charts. Timo Karjalainen is going to be lining up to his outside. Mika Lino and Alex Millward will be making up row 2 with Timothy Reed and Ove Trangarade behind them. Severi Seppa will be 7th, followed by Dylan Freckleton with Christophe Dubois and Karthik Pai rounding out your top 10, Ozzy.
Yep, and then in 11th place, we will have Timothy Vaughan, and he is joined by Gwen Old, Paul Williams 13th, Javier Sanchez 14th, Daniel Banker 15th, Armando Edwards 16th, Thomas Barkfai in 17th, Robert Plumley in 18th place, Javier Mosquera, another new name, in 19th, and Juan Aragones in 20th position. And then we got a couple of more, I believe, DJ.
We do indeed. It's going to be Barry West lining up in 21st, followed by Pat Meyer with Keith Herner and Michael Jarvelainen there in 24th. Tony Tillas will be in 25th with Sieb Sobka in 26th, and then Jason Clapper and Axel Herreras unable to set a time out there today. And so that will bring us through our whole starting grid as we go waiting here for the last couple of drivers to take their slot on the grid. Michael, what goes through your mind when you're waiting like that?
It's Spa, so I'm thinking about where I'm going to take that strategic off track on the first lap. Am I going to run it a little bit wide at Puan? Am I going to go into the off track at No Name and just try to gap somebody down the hill? That's really where my head's at. I'm not thinking about clutch percentage. I'm not thinking about the start. I'm thinking about where do I need to gap somebody so I can hopefully break that draft right first thing in the race.
I got an answer for you, Michael, for that one, just before we go. You take it at the first corner and you force it 3 wide into a rouge.
And the lights are coming up, and there go the lights. We are racing in Spa. It is a brilliant getaway from Tomas Shimon. A big gaggle there behind as we get that 3 wide that you talked about, Ozzy, going down now into the hairpin of La Source. Looks like everybody giving plenty of space and nice and cleanly. A great run through La Source for Timo Karjalainen as he's going to try to get a big pull on Tomas Shimon. Looks to the inside as they try to go. Big wreck in the back. Shades of Formula One back in 96 as there are many cars involved. I see Trangarade, Plumley, Old, Plumley, Clapper, a whole gaggle back there, Ozzy.
Yeah, so I think Robert Plumley was playing the role of David Coulthard there back in 1998 as we have a fight for the lead too. Karjalainen goes around the outside into Lecombe and takes the lead. That was his one great chance and he pulled it off so well. You have to get the draft on lap number 1. He knows that he's half a second slower on a flying lap. So what will he do? Well, he gets by on the first lap and then forces this into a fight. Makes this a fight, doesn't allow Tomas Shimon to run away, and Shimon now using those off tracks really well, and they are being followed by Mick Poleno very closely too.
Yeah, doing a good job there as we jump back, riding on board with Alex Millward, who currently rides in 4th place. Everybody's starting to separate themselves out a little bit as they work their way down through Fanyi's here, trying to see what they can get as they go. A little bit of a gap starting to form for Carolina, and a good run around as they get going, trying to see what they can get, pulling themselves out. Whoa, big off there up ahead. That's Mika Lino having a little bit of problem. I think that's going to open him up for an attack from Alex Millward as they go down into Blanchimont.
Yeah, Leno going very wide indeed and hopping over the curbs, and that's not optimal really with this car. You damage the floorboard so easily, and Millward has a chance here. He has a chance to make an overtake, or he has a chance to do the Alex Millward thing and spin. We'll see which Alex Millward it is today, but very close indeed to that engine livery, and that allows Karjalainen and Shimon to get away with it potentially. We'll see what happens as they cross the line for the first time and come towards one of the most fearsome corners in the world, Eau Rouge once again.
Yes, indeed, as they make their way up and down the hill here. Carjalainen continuing to lead from Shimon. Lino and Millward seeing a couple of off tracks there in the back, but no more incidents. We're going to be getting ready to spool up that replay. Here comes the pass for the lead. Tomas Shimon has had enough waiting around. They're going to be side by side going down the Kemmel Straight. I think maybe a little bit of a lift there from Timo as he recognized that pass was coming and just wanted to stick in line. Also, Millward and Lino side by side. They're going to keep that battle going out through Lacombe. And it looks like it's going to be the number 9 of Alex Millward able to pull ahead.
Yeah, number 9, like my shoe. No, that's actually at 12. But Mikko Leino getting past there, as was Timo Karjalainen. Not a great start of the lap for the Finns, but Timo doing a very smart thing. He didn't fight Shimon into Lacombe because he knew that A, he had no chance to fight Shimon into Lacombe, and B, the situation has changed. They have a chance to make a gap behind. They know Alex Millward is very fast on his day. Leino, Reed, Seppa, all of the peloton basically, the main pack. And they have a chance to gap them, and they have a chance to make them fight for the final spot of the podium and decide the win amongst themselves. So it's very smart for Karjalainen. He is minimizing his losses there. Even if he is not able to catch up to Shimon, he can secure himself at least a 2nd place if he just holds on for a couple more laps.
Well, that gap already expanding upward, as you said, up to 1.5 seconds right now. Karjalainen trying to close in a little bit on the back of Shimon. He's able to keep that within the effective draft range as they go down. We're going to go back here and check out the replay of exactly what happened at the start. And Michael, I think you watched this live. It looked like Gwendolyn Old and Paul Williams just got together.
Just unfortunate. Paul was kind of down towards the pit wall there, the old pit wall, and Gwendolyn just looked like she turned down on top of him. Just, you know, it's tight racing there. It's a tough spot. Yeah, I think just a bit of a mistake.
Yeah, a bit of a mistake there, and there you can see the carnage. We take a look from up above on that shot. Gwendolyn, as you said, just apologizing in chat. Didn't see Paul there down to the inside. There is the contact that initially spins around, and when you're coming down into such tight quarters like that, it is a very, very much of a bottleneck type situation. Cars behind having absolutely nowhere to go. Really, really tough run there from all of them, and that is what has put quite a few cars out, although I'm only seeing 3 completely out of it. We're going to ride on board with Ove Trangarate, Ozzy.
Yeah, so he does a very good job of avoiding all the potential carnage at La Source. Then he brakes early, avoids all of this carnage, and then, here. He's so unlucky. How unlucky can a man get? He did everything right to avoid damage in the first corner. He had the game plan. He was like, I don't care if I lose 10 positions, I'm gonna avoid all the damage, and then just right at the end, and now he's down in mud and bins, essentially.
That's too bad, especially because he had a pretty good qualifying this week.
Yeah, it is. We've talked about multiple times Ove not exactly having the best qualifying runs around here as they go. Ooh, car blinking out of existence there. I think that is, I believe that is Sanchez calling it a day. That car too clearly damaged. We jump you back up to the lead of the race, though, as Shimon continues to lead from Karjalainen. That gap starting to grow just a little bit, up to about 0.5 of a second, Ozzy.
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent around half a second. Now it's important for Karjalainen to stick inside 0.6 of a second. Failing that, at least stick inside a full second. because he needs this draft to survive. I don't think Karjalainen can actually live with this pace without the draft. He doesn't have the pace to match Shimon right now. You can see it in the cornery sections, in technical sections, in sector number 2, but here we have the great equalizer, the straights, especially the Camel straight. Once you come up Eau Rouge, Radion, and you can see white car, that Raccoon Racing car, get bigger and bigger behind Thomas Shimon once again. And here you have a great idea of the speeds these cars are doing too. It's an uphill straight, mind you, and they're pulling 280 km an hour with a car from 1978.
Very, very remarkable stuff, and that speed never fails to amaze. And just as you said, the great equalizer of the Camel Straight, allowing for Karjalainen to really pull himself in and be able to get nice and close behind. We also check in on the battle for the final step on the podium here. This is Mikolaino able to hold off Alex Millward. Whoa, very, very close going down into Ravage. That got a little bit hairy, Michael.
Yeah, it's such a tough corner there because you want to get on that throttle early and get it blasted down the hill. And with the way the Lotus kind of handles as you get the chassis loaded up, it's so easy to just slide it out there, touch the curb, and absolutely kill yourself.
Well, thankfully, nobody having that problem here today. We ride on board with, I believe, Timothy Reed, as he has got a bird's eye view of that battle up ahead of him between Lino and Millward as they work their way down through Campus and through Stavolo. Crucial corner to try to get right as they get going, trying to see what they're able to pull out here as they get up to speed. Millward gaining a little bit more, that gap coming underneath about 0.2 of a second.
Yes, and you can see Millward, who was trying really hard earlier on at around Rivage to really get the overtake done once again, or at least get right underneath the rear wing of Mikolaino. I don't think Millward likes this situation, because he's now caught in this battle where he can't quite shake Mikolaino off him. Mikko made the overtake last time around in Camel Straight, and Alex can get a free overtake this time around, but the problem is he can't be too close, otherwise he has to lift through the Eau Rouge and the Radion complex itself. So we'll see if Alex will lift off here into the corner, or if he will try and overtake into Eau Rouge. No, he won't. He's not insane. Maybe slightly, but not that insane. So he has to lift off just a little bit on the uphill, and then now he will go for the overtake. It's not quite optimal, and Timothy Reed will get a great draft out of Portland.
Yes, he will, and that is going to be Alex Millward starting to pull ahead, but it doesn't look like Mikolaino has any intentions of letting him by nice and easy, but around the outside goes Alex Millward. He's able to get that move done, and that is really allowed now for Millward, Lino, and Reed to all pull in together, but they are very quickly losing touch with your leaders of Tomas Shimon and Timo Karjalainen, as that's about 3.3 seconds. They've also got to watch out a little bit, because in the back, that red car lurking in the background, that is Severi Seppa. It's been a hot minute since we've seen Severi into the series here, but he certainly looks like he hasn't lost any of his speed.
Yeah, Mr. Smith is really on a rhythm here. Car number 2. He has done a great bit of grinding that I-rating up to get himself right up into the top. And oh, and we have Keith Turner driving what I believe is a bit of a slow race car. We'll see what happened to him coming up to Lecombe here. Oh, he's side by side. He's in a fight, and yeah, just a tiny bit of contact sending him around, thankfully able to avoid any hard knocks into the wall. It's a hard knock life, but at least he'll be able to fight another day.
And Michael, that kind of side-by-side contact, not necessarily going to damage the suspension or anything like that. Could he maybe have picked up some under-tray damage, though?
Sometimes you can see a little bit of side pod right where the sliding skirts are. I don't see necessarily any directly on his car, but you can take just the smallest amount and suddenly the car will start to feel a little weird as the side skirt stops sealing the floor to the ground.
So you can actually...
Oh, go ahead, Ozzy.
Yeah, sorry, I had to gather my thoughts for a moment there. So you can actually see it on top of the cockpit when you're driving the Lotus 79. That's one of the things that not many people know, and you don't notice it normally when driving, but right on top of the cockpit, from the driver's view, there is a little bit of a metal strip. And if you paint that metal strip just the right way when you're making the car livery, you will notice very easily right here where you can see those five screws, 5 metal screws. That bit can get a little bit disorientated. It can shake loose if you receive under tray damage. And that's when you know that, okay, I've got a bit of damage. Not sure if it's a good thing or not when you know, but I discovered that in 2018 World Cup, which was driven with this car, the 2018 World Cup of iRacing, and I painted little slogans on that bit of the car as the club captain to cheer the drivers of Finland on. And I noticed that, you know, the slogan came off if you received underbody damage. So that's the more you know.
Exactly, one of those little tips that we like to throw in there is we've got a good little battle going on right now with the Arviolainen, Trangrade, and Banker. This is the battle back for 16th place. Remember, a couple of these cars having a little bit of damage courtesy of that opening lap incident, specifically Ove Trangrade as he tries to go down. Oh, that's a big run there for Mikkel. Is that going to maybe open up an opportunity for Ove going down into Pujon? It certainly looks like he's going to send it, and send it he does. Also hearing there that in the back there, Daniel Banker having a little bit of damage. So a little bit of, yeah, there you can see it on your screen, a little bit of the walking wounded on your screen right now, but still a good pass there from Ove Trangrade.
It was indeed a good pass, and Järveläinen getting well into the rhythm of this car, going a little bit sideways there at the speaker's corner, and then was overtaken by Uwe, yes, but he did a good job of saving the car. I think this is where he will start to struggle, because his rear tires are clearly overheating as we're watching and Clapper fight behind him. His rear tires are overheating, and he's so new to the car that he doesn't have the experience how to cope with that, how to live with that. Oh, and that's Clapper going very wide into Blanchimont and somehow surviving.
That is not something you see every day. I am amazed by the car control of Clapper. Let's go back and check out the replay on this. It looks like here that he may have just misjudged the corner ever so slightly, Michael. And I mean, not normally a thing you see here. I've got to think that at the high speeds, the downforce can keep these cars in, but maybe just a little bit of aero wash?
He's pretty close here. Oh, he just misjudged it a little bit. Just that closing speed, wanted to get a good run and took it off into the dirt just a little bit there. I can't say I'm not guilty of having done that before, but I also have been guilty of just driving it straight into the back of the car in front of me. So.
Yeah, and I guess it's certainly an easy thing to be able to do there as they go, trying to close in. We've got another little battle here. This is Paul Williams and Dylan Freckleton, the battle for P9 right now. Ozzy, looks like Dylan's sporting a little bit of that front wing damage. I'm not sure who that is in front of him. That's the number 12. That is Gwendolyn Old. She is back out on track just trying to put some laps down.
Yeah, that's a crumbled can right there. That's a still a kind of Forsteiner, just a little bit crumpled right now, but she's showing a great fighting spirit and trying to get some of those positions back to potentially gain some I-rating that she lost on the first lap, and you know, get a better finishing position than the last she would have otherwise had. So that's a great bit of fighting spirit and a great bit of thinking as well while we are watching Williams and Freckleton. And it's Paul Williams, once again. Paul Williams always manages to find himself in these fights around the top 10 and in that region. He's been a pretty consistent and a decent driver, so if anyone's gonna have that Pauli Partanen kind of trajectory where they go from the mid-pack all of a sudden into fighting for podiums and then fighting for wins, you know what, Paul Williams might just be my dark horse bet. And Michael, you followed him more closely, so is it just me, or is he just kind of like, you know, the Sergio Perez of Lotus 79 before he got the Red Bull contract?
Well, I think Paul has been hanging out in the upper mid pack, just kind of capitalizing on mistakes, and recently it looks like he's certainly put the practice time in. And he's been very, very fast lately. You know, at Silverstone last week, I got a little lucky and got ahead of him and Tim Reed at the start. But at the end of the race, if they hadn't fought each other, they both would have blown my doors off. So, no, I think you're absolutely correct with that assessment. If Paul keeps putting in the time, I think there's no question we're going to see him as a race winner here soon enough.
Well, we'll hopefully see that sooner rather than later. As you saw there on your screen, that was Timothy Reed able to get by Mika Lino. Lino just sort of bleeding positions here. He's currently down 2 on the day. And with Severi Seppa starting to lurk in the background, that can't exactly be a good omen there for the driver of the number 5 machine as they come there out of Pujon, down through the corners once again, working their way through Kempis and Stavlo. It looks, though, like Lino could should be close enough to have a little bit of a counterattack here. He'll certainly get plenty of the slipstream to be able to keep himself along, Ozzy.
Yeah, he will, and coming down to Shimon, he will have a great chance of maybe trying it into the bus stop. But then again, there's no point passing in the bus stop. Oh, and we have some smoke in Pujon, and that can only mean that somebody has found themselves a ball. Armando Edwards, what will the New Jersey driver do here? Oh, going into the corner, and did he just blow the engine? Yeah, he did just blow the engine, maybe downshifting a little bit too high, going over the rev limit, which is 11,000 in this car, and that's what you get by not running an era-appropriate livery in Lotus 79.
It's such a sickening noise when you come down the hill there and try to grab fourth and get the car turned in and realize that, oh, that was 12,200 RPMs and the rocker arms in my DFV are gone.
It is indeed, but that battle that was promised, the fight back between Lino and Reed, it is back on again. They are side by side going down the Camel Straight here. That is going to be Timothy Reed to the inside, but Lino trying to sweep around the outside, and he looks like he's going to be able to have it going around the Lacombe, but there it is, back into Malmedy, and there's contact between the two.
I believe that was a little bit of unfortunate netcode involved in that one. Might need to see it from another angle to make sure. But it just looked like there was a little bit of maybe a miscalculation, maybe a netcode. But you can see here, on board Alex Milward, it was a great battle. He came aggressively alongside the exit of Radion as they come to the Camel Straight. No, this is Timothy Reed. Sorry, and Timothy Reed is to the inside, trying to get the position away, and yeah, that's a bit of netcode. And that's what's going to happen when one driver is from the Americas and other driver is from Europe, and you come into a corner side by side. The predictive netcode is great. Sometimes when you are on the inside, it's gonna predict that you are gonna run wide when you really ain't, and especially on corner entry situations like that, you should leave extra room, and that goes for both drivers. They have to be aware of the netcode and they have to play around it, because it's just really something impossible to prevent in an online world. But regardless, now Timothy Reed and Severi Seppa are finding themselves here on the track, and Seppa is looking to make gains.
Yes, he is sending that Ferrari liveried Lotus 79 down to the inside of bus stop. Not exactly going to work out there for him. He's going to have to re-rack and try again as Tomas Shimon sets the fastest lap of the race. Here is Mika Lino on the recovery drive after being spun out. Doesn't look like there's too much damage to that car, thankfully, so the number 5 will be able to get on his way. He just passed by Paul Williams, and now Dylan Freckleton is the next on him. And Michael, I think you've been doing a little bit of championship math here for us.
Oh no.
Yeah, you know, Timothy Vaughn and Paul are in a pretty tight fight there for, I gotta check which place it was, for 4th place in the championship. And Paul losing that spot is going to have them tied on points at the end here. So I'd have to look back and see who has the most higher place finishes to see how that tiebreaker is going to play out. But if Paul keeps hemorrhaging spots and Timothy moves up a spot, then we're going to see Timothy overtake him for 4th in the championship. Oh, and he got his first win on Camel on Saturday, so congratulations to him. That's he's kicking it in the Vintage Series this weekend.
Very much is, and doing a good job of it as we focus on one of those protagonists there, Paul Williams. You can see already Mika Lino starting to threaten very heavily on the back of Dylan Freckleton, right up ahead of him. Remember, Lino on that recovery drive after that netcode incident that we saw between himself and Timothy Reed, so trying to recover his way up through the field. By the way, just to keep you abreast of the leaders, nothing really happening there right now. Tomas Shimon continues to lead. He has just slowly but surely extended that gap over Timo Karjalainen. It is now up to about 1.5 seconds, Ozzy.
Yeah, and that's what I kind of saw coming earlier on. And Karjalainen did exactly what he was supposed to. He held on to the back of Tomas Shimon as long as he could, and then he could no longer live with the speed. But he has done a great job of staying within a fighting range, where if Tomas Shimon makes a mistake, takes a slowdown penalty, it's not very likely, but if he makes a mistake, then Karjalainen will be right there to pounce on mistakes. And he's dropping Alex Milward all the time as Leno goes to the inside, moves himself past Dylan Freckleton. Now, passing into the bus stop, it's always an option because it's one of the 2 primary passing zones in this track, but Leno has to be very aware of the comeback from Dylan Freckleton. into the Camel Straight. So we'll see how Leno defends this one. Will he go aggressive or will he recognize the situation? Which one will it? Does Dylan Freckleton have a flannel shirt on while he's driving? And work gloves?
Yes, he does. That is a flannel shirt and work gloves. I like the commitment to the bit there for Dylan Freckleton. I approve of that race suit there for him. As they fly down the Camel Straight, though, it looks like Freckleton able to close in a little bit, but that overspeed just not taking in. I wonder if he's maybe a little bit more tuned for the middle sector of this track. We talked about that earlier on, about how you can kind of tweak and tune the cars a little bit, try to trim them out as much as possible, as Lino maybe makes a little bit of a mistake there coming out of Rivage to go around. Oh, also looking down, the pants are made to look like jeans on that race suit. So Dylan really committing to the bit there. I absolutely love it.
I think you're right there, DJ. I think he is running just a little bit more downforce. You can occasionally see a little bit of variation here where you can make, I don't want to call it a medium downforce set, but a slightly higher downforce set than the low downforce set work here. And that looks to me, I believe you're correct, that looks to me like what he did. He seems like he's 4 or 5 kilometers an hour down on speed from Miko, and he's in his draft, so that's going to be a tough one for him to get done.
Yeah, it'll be very tough indeed. We jump back in the field here a little bit more. Barry West trying to hold off Ove Trangarade. Ove, remember, involved in that first lap incident, had a little bit of a flight up into the air. Ove, though, looking very, very threatening on Barry West as they come out of Fagnes here, trying to push his way around. Good defensive line there from Barry, just running his lap, not making this easy for Ove.
Not at all. So Barry West, he is a fighting driver. Oh, and Terrace Reed, and he is fighting with Seppa. So Seppa and Timothy Reed are having a battle, and this will come down to the Camel Straight once again, but they were side by side earlier on already. Seppa is losing a little bit of time coming down from La Source, but he should be close enough with a good Eau Rouge to get a run into the Camel Straight. We'll see. It's 3.5 tenths. Yeah, he'll get alongside. Whether he can pass or not, DJ, you will tell us because you're watching.
Yes, I am, and here he comes. He's certainly going to poke his nose to the inside, but going to come back to the racing line there. Does Severi Seppa, not wanting to send an absolute dive bomb down into the corner. He'll just keep everything nice and close together, trying to see if he is able to get anything there. Doesn't quite look like it. He's going to have to keep in line, maybe set up a move down into the bus stop, as we said, and be able to go. Going back here, I think we've got a little bit of a replay of Dylan Freckleton and Paul Williams going into the final chicane. Very, very close, hairy moment here. Michael, you were the one that pointed this out.
Yeah, as they come down into the braking here, Dylan and him just interlock wheels a little bit, and you see Paul try to turn back and come back on course, and just got it a little fast as he was coming back, and they almost made contact on the pit straight there as well. You'll see the closeness and the interlock here under braking, and just gets pitched up into the air a little bit, and as he comes back onto track, he's looking straight at Dylan, and it was very, very close.
So that can happen so easily when you're running side by side in the corner. What happened here is the driver on the outside is trying to pinch the one on the inside, limit the space. Driver on the inside is kind of expecting the outside driver is returning to the normal racing line, which is in that case right on the left side of the track because it's a right-hand corner. So right on the left side of the track, but that never happened. So one driver was expecting, because you can't actually see someone directly alongside you, not very easily, not when you're braking. So it's just a little bit of contact and a little bit of a miscommunication, and then coming back on the track, it had potential to be an absolute disaster. Thankfully, it was averted, and instead we'll get to see Reed and Seppa take it for round 2, round 3, whichever it is.
Round 3, round 5, I'm not sure here at this point, but the gap as they fly up Eau Rouge is about 0.4 of a second. Looks like a good run there for Severi Seppa as he's able to hold on to the draft here. That gap certainly coming down now under 0.2 of a second. It's going to be down to Severi Seppa if he wants to have the lunge. Again, a little bit of a fade there, looking to the inside, but not going to have a bite on it. He's going to stay in line and not do anything there. And I'm really getting the sense here that he is just waiting for the opportune time as they're going to pass by a little bit of slower traffic there. I believe that is Robert Plumley with a very damaged Lotus 79 getting out of the way and letting them on by. And Michael, when you're trying to line up a pass like that on a track like Spa that is so aero dependent, what can you really do to try to get that right other than just maximizing your exit out of the source?
Maximizing the exit is really, really important. So is trying to distract the driver in front. I know we have a lot of Finns here, so they keep cool, and it's very hard to distract them. But really trying to make yourself as big as possible in the mirrors. I don't want to say you want to throw a feint every time, but you need to try to bait that driver in front of you into either reacting to what he thinks you're going to do or into making a mistake so that you can hopefully just send it and make that pass.
So you know about the thing about Finns and keeping cool inside the car?
Yes.
That's a lie. Well, some of them do, but I've been part of many a Finnish team in endurance racing and in racing in general. I've been part of Glacier Racing, I've been part of Inertia Sim Racing as well. I've been on TeamSpeak when Finns have raced, and I'll tell you what, it's not always so cool. Like, Finns have this Iceman kind of image where Finns are, you know, immune to pressure and they are the irresistible force and so on, and you can't shake a Finn. Well, that's a lie. I've heard so much. I mean, it's not as blatant as drivers from Italy or Spain or somewhere, but we are absolutely prone to pressure and we will crack just like anybody else. I guess the mythical strength of a Finn is that they tend to have more perseverance than other drivers, and here we see Seppa showing that right off, showing a little bit of sizzle going to the inside.
You know, Ozzy, I have seen a clip of Etu, I'm sorry if I murdered the pronunciation of his name, talking about Finns always fighting for position, and there are a few good ones out there.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, there certainly are, and one good Finn that was able to get that move done, as you said, Ozzy. Severi Seppa able to finally get that move done on Timothy Reed. It's going to be a question here, though, if Reed will be able to stick behind and maybe throw an attack behind them as well. That'll be an interesting battle to see how it continues to play out here. A little bit of a wiggle coming through the second part of Puhal there for Severi Seppa. Just the car looking to be a little bit loose, not entirely unexpected as these cars continue to burn fuel. They get lighter, they get looser, they get a little bit harder to control.
They do, and you know, it's burning the tires that makes them harder to control, and it's burning the fuel as well. We talked about this during the Interlagos days and the things you can do to prevent the car from getting too loose, and one of those things is a factor that Mario Andretti introduced when he came back to Team Lotus in, I believe, 1977 or 78 from the Americas, doing a lot of different racing series there, being already a living legend before he won the Formula 1 World Championship, as we're watching Juan and Pai fight for a position. So he introduced the onboard adjustable anti-roll bars, both for front and rear. So you can adjust the anti-roll bars, and what that means essentially is that you have a fully mechanical system where you can put the anti-roll bar into a different position, and it depends on, from that position, it's essentially adjusting the effectiveness of the anti-roll bars. So what that means in layman's terms is that you stiffen the rear anti-roll bar, you make the car more oversteery. Basically, it comes down to a lot more than that, but basically, to dumb it down a little bit. And you stiffen the front anti-roll bar and you make the car more understeery. It also has an effect on slow and fast corners and stuff like that, but what you want to do during the race and what you traditionally do is you start with a relatively firm rear anti-roll bar, and then you soften it throughout the race until you are at the final setting. And if you still run out of adjustment, you can stiffen the front anti-roll bar as a last resort, but that's for last couple of laps, 40 laps maybe.
Well, there you go. I was not aware of that. Obviously, the most well-known car to have those anti-roll bar adjustments on the sim here being the Dallara IR18, but I wasn't aware that Mario was actually the one that brought that over, but it certainly does make sense. We continue to focus here on the battle on your screen. Vaughn and Pai continuing to duke it out here a little bit. Karthik being able to keep in nice and close behind, about 0.4 of a second behind Timothy Vaughn here, trying to keep things nice and close as they come through Campos and Stavlo, seeing what the speed can be. Now, the other thing they've got to worry about is that red number 5 coming up behind them. That is Michelino really starting to come in as they go. Remember, he is on a recovery drive.
He is, so we'll have to see how far Leino can climb. He's behind Pai and behind Vaughn, so it's gonna be a 6th place potentially for him. I don't think he has a chance to catch up to the duo of Seppa or Reed unless they really start on an epic battle. But Vaughn versus Pai versus Leino. Now we have one Australian driver, one from Texas and one from Finland. So guys, you might wanna keep that netcode in mind, and I'm sure Seppa will as they... Oh no, DJ, they're not gonna do this. No, you're not.
Oh, that's not good. Careful, boys, careful. Too wide coming up, Eau Rouge. And the loser there is going to be Vaughn as Karthik Pai keeps his foot in it. Vaughn going to lose another position there to Mika Lino. And Lino going to go for a 2-for-1 as they come down the Camel Straight. He has got such massive overspeed. Look at that move from the number 5 machine.
Woo, he read that like an open book. And that's what I was about to say. Exactly. Like, when you see drivers in front of you going side by side through the corner, lift off the throttle. It might not make sense, but lift off the throttle. Give yourself enough room so that when you exit the corner, you can get that wonderful slingshot. Next one, us 2. Leino says, thank you very much. I'm gonna go now. Bye-bye. Continue your fight. Thank you. Have a nice day. So, Severi Seppa and Timothy Reed, we are back to these 2 fighting, but I don't think Pai and Vaughn are done with theirs either. Just because if they're willing to go side by side through a Rouge with 6 laps to go, what are they willing to do on the last lap?
Yeah, exactly. It can certainly be a little bit crazy there if you're willing to go this early into that kind of maneuver. As we focus back lane, as you said, Severi Seppa continuing to lead. Timothy Reed trying to see what he can do. Reed not looking like he's got the draft here to be able to make a move down into the bus stop, but maybe he'll get a good lineup coming off of La Source once again. This battle has really played itself out. Again, a little bit of squirreliness there for Severi Seppa. Michael, that car just looking like it's a little bit on the oversteery side. Is that a result of setup? Is that the fuel burning off, or is he just pushing that hard?
I think it's kind of a combination. Yes, the Lotus does get a little bit oversteery towards the end, and typically you do adjust, as Ozzy said, you do adjust the ARBs to make sure that it doesn't happen. But it's also pretty hot. It's, you know, it's 39 degrees C track temp, and compared to last time we were here, that's fairly warm. And Seppa hasn't exactly been racing that much, so I wouldn't doubt that maybe he just went and grabbed his old setup and said, hey, you know what, it was fast last time, it'll be fast this time, and maybe his setup is just not quite as good at the end of the race because it's that much hotter and he's overworking the tires.
Well, tire conservation becoming a thing here on the Lotus 79. Obviously, the change to the bias ply tires here, they can wear a lot more than they used to. It used to be you'd be able to go out and just run these things until they died, but now you've got to be a little bit more careful about them since the latest update to the tire model. Giving a quick love check in here to your leader, Tomas Shimon, with the 7,900, nearly 8K I rating. Tomas really putting in the time there, and he is putting in the laps right now. He has been putting in fastest lap after fastest lap after fastest lap, and he's been able to grow that gap over Timo Karjalainen up to about 4 seconds here, Ozzy.
Yes, and I believe he will break that 8K barrier. I'm not sure if it will be for the first time for him, but he will break that 8K barrier if he just keeps this pace going and wins this race. It'll be a great achievement for him. Mighty Magyar, as they used to call the Hungarian national football teams in the 1950s. Timo Karjalainen in second place has a little bit less high rating, but he's still got the accolades. He's been driving Lotus 79 for a long time. Was also a Finnish championship finalist last year. Was present at Rally Finland for the live final where 20 best Finnish iRacers met off. He didn't do very well, but he was still there.
Well, being named in that top 20 is certainly something enough to keep your hat on. We're going to focus back on the battle for P4 here. Timothy Reed's turn to see if he's got anything for Severi Seppa as they plunge down the hill and get ready to go up the Fearsome Eau Rouge. We ride on board the nose here of Timothy Reed. You can see that elevation change. Good run there for him, bringing that gap down under 0.3 of a second. Now it is all down to the draft to see who's got a little bit more. He's going to close it down. I think he may have a little bit of a look. No, he is going to lift, going down into the corner. Discretion proving the better part of valor there for the driver of the number 6.
It is. So Timothy Reed still holding off, and he knows that in this position he can just fight for the last lap. He doesn't even have to pass him. The way he can do this is that he can time it out of Stavelo on the last lap into the bus stop and then take it to a straight fight with Severi Seppa. But if he continues to do that, then he can lose time, and that was a very bad time to have a slide right into the speaker's corner because he lost a bit of time there. He is now 7/8 of a second behind, and he has overheated tires as a result of that. Overheated tires, and the second sector of Spa-Francorchamps, which is the most demanding one when it comes to technical corners, is bad news. He is dropping time here, and Severi Seppa now has a chance to run away, and I think he will. He is out of dodge.
Yeah, it certainly is. 0.8 of a second, 0.9 of a second now, the gap, and that is getting to the end of that effective draft range. Not exactly what you want to see if you are trying to close in, as Tomas Shimon setting another fastest lap of the race. Absolutely dominant, and really doing a good job here. By the way, if, knock on wood, if you are a fan of Tomas Shimon, this will bring his total up to 24 wins. I believe that will get him about 6th all-time on the list, if I'm reading these stats correctly, Ozzy?
Yeah, so he is 6th all-time already, ahead of Pascal Duke, who is 7th with 17 wins. But Kalle Ruokola, a past champion, I believe, a name for the old-timers, is 5th overall with 25 wins. And then in 4th place, you got Tapani Linnaluoto with 27 wins. And then you got 4 more for Noralampi with 31. Nuno Moreira has 38. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. And within a couple of seasons, if Tomas continues at this rate, he will have 2nd most wins of all time. Now remember that number, Nuno Moreira, 38 wins, 2nd most all time. First is, of course, the Austrian Superman, the Red Baron himself, Rottekamp-Flieger, Gernot Flietsche. He has 162.
An absolutely nearly unassailable number there for Felicia. We check here on back in the field a little bit. This is Javier Mosquera getting chased down by Ove Trangerade. Remember, Ove involved in that first lap incident, trying to close in. He's got the gap under about 1/10 of a second. He's going to have a look to the inside of Mosquera. Going to think better of it, diving back down into line. And especially this late in the race, I'm frankly a little surprised to see that much discretion here, Michael. I would have thought this is the time to really go for broke.
You know, I know Ove's car doesn't look particularly damaged, but he's probably nursing a few issues from that first lap incident. Unfortunately, you can tell the right front wing is a little bent, and it wouldn't surprise me if he had a little side pod or floor damage, which is going to make you question how the car is going to brake and turn in. So I'm not that surprised to see him take it that easy going in, but he gets the pass done, and I think you're just going to see him extend out from here.
I think we will as well, but he doesn't have a whole lot of time to do it, as Tomas Shimon has come by the start-finish line to take 2 laps to go here. And a car up ahead of him, that is Tomas Bartfai. That is a lapped car with some pretty heavy damage to the left front wing on that machine, so he will be able to work his way by. That is Timo Karjalainen there in the background. That is a visual representation of the gap between first and second, as Shimon has just continued to absolutely dominate here in this race, Ozzy.
He has, and credit where it's due, he's driven the perfect race. He wasn't too shaken by the early aggression from Timo Karjalainen from the early battle. He did what he had to do. He was like, okay, Karjalainen is gonna pass me in lap number 1. This is fine, this is acceptable. He passed him once again, and then he never really let Timo close. And once the gap was made, he continued putting in those lap times, improving 10th by 10th by 10th, like a metronome. So it's been excellent watching Tomas Shimon today. He's been absolutely flawless, and he is most likely going to win this race. barring an absolute catastrophe. So it's really excellent watching him drive, and we don't have really any other battles on track, so we can watch him drive and we can see what makes him so special. Look at the accuracy of his lines. That's one of the things that's seldom talked about. We always talk about throttle application and setups. We talk a lot about setups and we talk about overtakes. Really, line accuracy is one of those things that, once again, like I said during the Majors 24, it's one of those things that separates the very good from the elite, is the ability to put your car consistently where you want it each and every lap. He's using the track just right. I think he's cruising a little bit there. You don't want to leave any of the black stuff unused here as he comes to the final lap. Once again, a beautiful apex out of La Source, a beautiful exit on the throttle as early as you like, and then just doing his thing. It looks like a cruise, but trust me, it's a hard job.
Yeah, very, very hard job to be able to make it look easy to drive these Lotus 79s. But he only has one more lap of this historic circuit to get around. That's right, white flag is in the air. We'll jump you back to the closest battle we have on track right now. Severi Seppa holding a 0.6 of a second advantage over Timothy Reed. Kind of like we talked about here a little bit, but Seppa just starting to stretch his legs a little bit. That car certainly coming into its own more than not, pulling away here from Timothy Reed as they go on to the main straightaway, as they go, seeing what they can do. A little bit of weaving there, shades of maybe a little bit of the Indianapolis 500 as they go around, just trying to break that gap, break that draft as much as possible.
Oh yeah, but that was a fantastic race, such a fantastic Indy, and such a great team to see Marcus Ericsson win. He deserved it. And it was great to see him trying to break the draft on the last restart as well. But yeah, going back to this Lotus 79, which have been taken to Indy, by the way, on iRacing on a couple of occasions. And this is a great oval car. It doesn't do well on high banking, but it can be a great oval car too. So Timothy Reed, we'll see if he can use some of that North American racing experience. Even if he is very much a road racer, he's now 3/10 away from Severi Seppa. And we'll see Thomas Shimon takes the checkered flag here, DJ, but after that we might just see a battle for fourth.
We might indeed, but there's only 2 corners to go here for Tomas Shimon as he brings that number 1 machine through the bus stop. Barney, the flagman, waving the checkered flag, and it will be victory on the return to the series for Tomas Shimon as he sets the fastest lap of the race on the way. Timo Karjalainen able to cross the line in second. Alex Millward will take third. Here is that battle. Severi Seppa trying to hold off Timothy Reed. Reed doesn't quite look like he's got it as they go down into that final bus stop chicane. It will be Severi Seppa that will cross the line to take home 4th place, holding off Timothy Reed as they go. And with that result, we can confirm here that Timothy Reed will secure 3rd place in the championship. So a fantastic run there for Timothy.
We need more Finns, clearly.
As you see there, your 2 leaders, Shimon and Karjalainen, going up Eau Rouge at a leisurely pace, doing a little bit of congratulations. And that's going to take us to a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel as everybody pretty much crossing the line and all battles have died. But do not go anywhere. We will be back with unofficial race results as well as some podium interviews just after this break. Welcome back to the Circuit Spa Francorchamps. We just witnessed the Lotus 79 Series tackle this ever fearsome course, and it was Tomas Shimon that was able to come out on top on his return to the series. Timo Karjalainen coming home in second behind him, with Alex Millward rounding out your podium positions. Severi Seppa on a good drive up through the field, up 3 positions, came home fourth, with Timothy Reed in fifth, securing third place for him in the championship. Mika Laino was in sixth, followed by Karthik Pai, with Timothy Vaughn, Pep Meyer, and Paul Williams rounding out the rest of your top 10, Ozzy.
Yes, they did, DJ. Dylan Freckleton in 11th. Uwe Trengeride was able to survive the absolute heartbreak of lap number 1 and ended up 12th. Javier Mosquera 13th, Juan Aragones 14th, Barry West 15th, and our new boy Mikael Järveläinen in 16th, a respectable result for him. Keith Turner 17th, Tony Theolis 18th, Steve Sobka 19th, Tamas Bartfai 20th. I'm gonna read through the rest of the results. It's mostly drivers who had troubles on first or following laps. Robert Plumley 21st, Wendell Nold 22nd, Daniel Banker, Jason Clapper, Armando Edwards, Axel Boada, Javier Sanchez, and Christophe Dubois rounding out the 28 driver field here at Spa-Francorchamps. And it certainly was a race, DJ. It certainly was a race, and I do believe you have one driver here who is willing to talk to us about that race, and you have him ready on the other end of your microphone, on the business end.
I do indeed. Timo, a good run out there for you. Slicing and dicing early on with Tomas Shimon. Talk me through those opening laps and what was going through your head as you were really bringing the fight to that number 1 machine.
Well, hello guys. I just tried to keep him busy and to not let him get comfortable with driving, because I know once he gets into that zone, it's so difficult to catch him. So I just tried to fight him. I should have done more, I think. I was a bit careful about the guys behind. I didn't want them to catch us. But yeah, in hindsight, I should have gone to fight him a bit more.
Well, I mean, talking about trying to catch, I mean, obviously, you know, doing that, and were you ever really worried about that attack from behind from the likes of Millward and Seppa? I mean, it looked like pretty much since the drop of the green flag, you and Tomas were sort of in your own world in terms of speed.
Not really, but it just brings too many cards to the table, I feel like. It's a bit unknown how the other guys will fight, if they will attack me and then I lose Tomas. But the end result was the same this time.
Well, the end result was the same as they worked their way around. Obviously, the end of the season here. Any track that you're hoping to see pop its way up on the schedule next season? I know discussions have already been going on. Anything to look forward to?
Well, definitely what you brought to the attention there. Fuji might be coming. Looking forward to it. I watched the video on board of it yesterday, and it didn't really look like that much fun, but obviously big straights might bring some other fun. Let's say that.
Well, I know that's one that I'm certainly looking forward to seeing pop up on the sim, but a good result here today, Timo. A great season. Is there anybody you would like to thank?
Oh, for sure. Thanks to my team, Rackham Racing. Congrats to Thomas. He finally got his 8K iRating. Finally. It's always nice to race against him. Thanks to the broadcast. Thanks to the whole community for this entire season. It's been great. Let's keep at it.
Well, indeed, and we look forward to seeing you next season, and congratulations again on a second place here today, Timo.
Thank you.
All right, that was Timo Karjalainen, your second place finisher, and that's about going to wrap things up for us here for the Global SimRacing Channel. But before we go, we want to give a big thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more of her awesome work. Thanks to the team today, Ozzy, Joe, Michael, and Dougie. You can find out more about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on your screen. Also, please check out our merchandise store at gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Well, the next race for this series is a little bit unknown as we've got a week off and then we will be back the following week for the start of the new season. We also have some upcoming races listed on your screen, so check them out and mark them down on your calendar. The next race on the channel will be at 4:50 p.m. Eastern Time today as the Sunday Drivers' Cup heads to Oran Park. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.